Let me kick this thing off, and I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for making the time out of your, I'm sure, busy schedules to sort of
I had to clear the schedule. I have to be honest.
to sit, chat. It's crazy times, and normally, like I would have kind of liked to do this with us. I'd imagined it. I always imagined it with us in a bar doing this, and it being filmed in a bar, which I think would be really cool. That's.
Oh, I didn't get the memo. Oh,
I have water.
So I mean, it's kind of like we all sort of interact and talk to each other, but like we kind of haven't had any real cool time to sort of just chill out and find out what we're all doing. So I mean, so this whole Big Picture Film Club and Friends is just that. It's just a chat about films and coronavirus. And yeah, that's the intro. But yeah, like actually just kind of starting off in sort of lockdown, what sort of films have you guys been watching? What's piqued your interest? What hasn't?
Who's going
to someone go. I mean, I can go all day, but
all right. I'll start off in saying actually, I thought in this whole lockdown period, I would actually like watch more films, and I'd be like super focused, and I had this big list, and I'll go through all the films. It didn't happen. Hasn't happened. I've like kind of watched some old classics like Goodfellas and stuff, and I've watched a lot of like documentaries. Yeah, that's cool.
Tiger King. I had to say it. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
Actually, guilty. I haven't.
What?
Oh, mate.
Oh, okay.
You need to get.
My co-host is fashionably late to the party as always.
Hey, do you know what? I've heard the hype, but I just had other stuff pique my interest, and
trust me.
like, I'll get there. It's that one, yeah.
You need to watch it for all its bizarreness. Like, yeah.
Okay.
It's mental.
You couldn't write it.
No, you really couldn't. Although they're trying to. There's a script for that. They're apparently circulating now. With Nicolas Cage to play Joe Exotic.
I mean, I was all for David Spade. I mean...
Oh!
Yeah.
That's a shout.
Now, I think David Spade for one of the other characters, like the leg guy, or I don't know, maybe.
The leg guy.
Just, yeah.
David Spade to play Carol.
There
you go.
Yeah, I think anyone who plays her is winning, to be fair.
In his Ultron voice.
Yeah.
I don't lock up tigers. You can.
Yeah, I was quite actually. I saw the kind of extra episode that they had of.
What was that?
What's happened?
Okay. Nico, you're sort of going in and out of.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. My aunt tends to call at this time of day, and I've just had to politely decline. My bad.
Yes, that's so sweet.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Sorry,
yeah,
guys. She's calling again.
Okay.
She's calling again. She'll get the message eventually. Now.
Airplane mode and turn your Wi-Fi on. That should get rid of her. Like, politely get rid of her and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one film I did kind of watch, during this period that I didn't kind of get to see when it was in cinemas that I really liked was Knives Out.
I enjoyed that.
That's just a really kind of fun film to watch, like by yourself with fam.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I think it was a little bit overhyped.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong. My love for it is high, but for people to say Oscar movie, it's like whoa.
Let's
good.
not get crazy.
Fun, but it's not. We're not. Fun movie.
Yeah, fun movie. Yeah.
I think it was enjoyable. It wasn't groundbreaking, and I pretty much guessed who done it. But because I'm obsessed with those kind of like who done it shows and like
So
films.
you know the clues to look out
So
for.
I'm always looking out for that one little clue. That one little clue.
The big question is, Rachel, did you guess the ending to The Usual Suspects?
Oh, God, now I'm gonna have to like. I haven't watched Usual Suspects recently. Don't judge me.
No judgment. No judgment.
No. I mean, it's been a while.
One of my faves, but I haven't got to watching it recently.
Defo. One of the best last lines in a film ever.
Pardon?
One of the best last lines in a film ever.
Okay, I'll look out for that. I'll look out for that.
So, Avisha, what about yourself? What sort of films you've been watching?
Oh, I can't hear you.
We'll try again. Avisha, who's your favourite wrestler?
My back?
No, it didn't.
Yeah,
yeah. It works.
Oh gosh. I'd have to agree with Presh. Like I thought there would be a list of films that I'd wanted to see, and that's all gone out the window. And I've just been banging out the documentaries. So I pretty much see hyped and some not so hyped. So yeah, I've just been watching documentaries, and I've actually started The Sopranos, which I've never seen.
Oh,
okay.
Sopranos season 2, and I'm loving it. I'm surprised I didn't give it earlier on. I'm loving it. It's really cinematic in the way it's shot.
Definitely, it's a great show.
That's what I'm working my way through at the moment.
That's something I shamelessly haven't watched as well, and I can never admit that outside of these.
Confinements that's going to be shared to the public. Yeah.
Too much. I can't even to everyone else. I've watched it, but yeah, no, there are a few like that.
It's a goodie. It's a very, very, very good show.
One you kind of have to invest in because it's like hour-long episodes, like solid hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
13 or so episodes a season, so it's not too bad.
Okay.
But yeah, it's quite easy to follow, and it is an enjoyable watch. So I'm quite liking it.
Yeah.
Full disclaimer: I've only ever seen season 1, and I loved it. I don't know why I didn't continue.
I've had stuff like that where you start, but then you just don't get a chance to finish it for X or Y, Z reason. You absolutely love everything about what's going on in it, but you just haven't had the chance to go back. Yeah.
For me, that was like The Wire. Like I saw season 1, I think part of 2. Great show.
The Wire is amazing.
Babe. No, yeah, The Wire.
Season 3 of The Wire is the one. It's so good.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Bad or The Wire?
Which one?
Breaking Bad or The Wire? I feel like a lot of people compare the two. To me, there's no comparison, but I just wanna put the.
Hang on, before we even answered, to you, there's no
I was going to say,
comparison.
I've just started. Well, not just started. I started Breaking Bad twice, and I just couldn't get into it.
Oh!
No. I'm just putting it out there.
It took me, I swear, about 6 months to get through the first episode or couple of episodes. I had to keep starting it again because I was like bored out of my brain.
Okay, so I'm not.
Oh wow.
Avisha, I can't hear you. What's that?
Vish is like going crazy.
Just giving it away.
Talk to us, Vish.
Is that better?
What do you got?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I agree. I wasn't really a big fan of Breaking Bad, and I only got into the fight because everyone was hyping that last episode. So I binge watched the first all 5 seasons, and there were at least 2 seasons that were unnecessary.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Completely. No, I'd agree with that. 2
seasons. That's intense. I don't think.
I wouldn't go as deep as 2 seasons. I wouldn't go as deep as 2 seasons, but there was a lot of filler, and I thought the last season was an absolute dragger.
Don't get me wrong. There's some amazing scenes and like amazing like moments, and I was just like, wow, that was like the scene in the old people's home, like. I thought that whole thing was just brilliant. But then there were so many parts of one episode. I was like, "What's
The Fly?"
The Fly. Jesus.
Why?
We're not talking the Jeff Goldblum movie here, are we?
Nope. There's an episode called The Fly. Everyone knows what I'm talking about if you've seen it. Oh my god.
Worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
But you know, here's the craziest thing. They love that episode in the States.
I know they do.
It's the weirdest thing. And this, I think, shows a fascinating cultural difference between us here and them's lot over there. Because they'll rave about something and we'll watch and be like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
But conversely, we'll love something. I won't speak for everyone, but I will speak for AJ and I. Crash.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. They hate that film.
Hate you.
Why do they hate that film?
Even the other day, I was reading this article and they're talking about it keeps coming up as the undeserving Oscar movie, and I'm like, guys, why? Where's the hate for this film? I legitimately love that film.
And the biggest argument is that, oh, it's not subtle and nuanced enough. It's like, it's racism.
To be fair, in our podcast, we did once say it was too close to home, and that's what hurt them, and that's why they can't appreciate the film.
Maybe.
They were confronted with their reality, and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Bingo. We love Crash, they hate it. We hate The Fly episode, they love it.
Oh no, because the film was so amazing that like everyone loves it.
Hey, it had Jeff Goldblum.
Then ever watch that episode again.
Yes, I would co-sign that.
So what you guys are looking forward to later in the year, if they still come out later in the year?
Going back to the cinema. Actually, do you know what? No, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. Because I think it's ballsy, but it's a beacon of hope that it's not moving its release date, and that's Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been on my radar. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. And I like the fact they haven't. It's like July 17th or something.
Yeah, he's not moving. He will not move. He's adamant that he wants his movie as it stands, exactly. But you think there's movies that are coming out later than Tenet that have already moved?
Yeah.
It's mad, but he really wants his film to be like, this is people coming back to the cinema. And I'm hoping that's the case and it starts a snowball effect and people get back into business.
But here's the question. Will we see Bond in the cinema? Considering everyone's boycotting Universal.
Oh, yeah. We have to.
Bro, $250 million budget. That movie is not going to home video.
I agree, but am I Ojin who said that I'm not taking any more Universal pictures?
Well, that's their fault.
It's a big statement
go down
to
the Universal route because we can go.
bro, that is who do you think Bond is being released by?
Bond's not Universal, mate.
No, it's
double check. I'm sure it's Universal.
Bond's never been Universal. Bond's MGM,
I read somewhere that it was Universal.
Eon Productions make Bond, and it's definitely not released. It's 100% not a Universal film. It's either Warner Brothers or MGM.
It's MGM.
It's MGM. For some reason, I knew that for the others. For some reason, I thought this one was Universal because I was like, I saw this huge article. I didn't even open it. Will Bond be released in cinemas due to Universal dispute? And I was like, really?
So whoever wrote that needs to recognise that it will be released in cinemas. You don't make a movie for that much money and not release it to make money.
No, of course, 100%.
Trolls, however.
It's already on my hard drive. So.
Well, I mean, what does that kind of say about the theatrical sort of window kind of moving forward? Do all films, like I see Bond as a type of film that you see that it gets that theatrical release, but are we going to see like less of those big studio films kind of need to get
no chance.
Some films like that, like Bond and whatever, it needs to stay in the cinema. It's just taking away the cinematic experience if you take that out of the cinema. But there are some films that I think win during this pandemic, and kind of having them come on Netflix and on Sky or whatever, like Lovebirds, for example. I don't feel like that film would have done particularly well in the cinema, but actually on Netflix, which is it's easy for everyone to access, I think they're going to do way better than they would have in the cinema. So I feel like the smaller films should kind of go down that route, but the big blockbusters and the other kind of indie.
I read something about them trying like day in day release, so on demand and in cinema. So they might.
That will never happen because that's what the whole beef is about.
Yeah.
I think you'll get limited release, if anything.
You'll get a limited release, but the reason that, I mean, there's a number of reasons that the cinemas, in my opinion, rightfully so, were angry with Universal in this case. But I mean, the biggest thing is, first off, that they've lied about their numbers to make it seem like, oh, it was a great idea putting it on video on demand. It's like, you've lost money. How are you trying to make this as if you've made money? You've lost 50 million. This movie's a bomb. Like, let's just be real. It's like, oh, we released it on video on demand and we made money. No, you didn't. That's a fat lie. You made back your budget you made back your production budget, but you've not made a thing back if you factor in the marketing budget, which they very, very cleverly didn't.
Yeah.
And if you factor in the extra 10 to 20 million, numbers to be specified, but it's in that range, that they had to pay to Hulu to make it on demand. So we're talking in the region of 50 to 70 million that they've lost. And they're trying to make out that they've made money. So first off, the cinemas are angry because it's making it look like if studios cut out the middleman, that'll be better for everyone, when in fact that's really disingenuous and that's not the case. But then the silly thing is that I can't remember what his name is, but the CEO of Universal's come out and said that, well, not only have we made money, but in the future, we're going to think about doing all of our movies on video on demand and a cinema release. And the cinema's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably saying that because they've been told by every cinema, like, you know what, screw you for that. So it's better to say I'm going on demand as opposed to being told, you know, it's the case of, you can't fire me, I quit. maybe that's the way they've come.
Yeah, but in answer to that, I'll say to everyone here what I said to you over podcast, mate. I think they're going to be singing a very different tune when it's not Trolls that's being pulled from the cinema, but it's Jurassic World 3. Watch them come crying then and be like,
but I don't know that
£200 film which should be making $1 billion. Oh, we've only got video on demand, and the cinemas are going to be going, right, cool, have fun. But then again,
but then for the cinemas, that's a loss as well. So you know, I think it's a double-edged sword, and
it's not though,
mate. I do wonder, bro. The revenue's a revenue for
the revenue's a revenue, but the cinemas are going to make money because they have a revenue from all of the studios. All they're doing here, is it a loss to lose a movie of Jurassic Park's caliber? 100%. But they've got Marvel, they've got DC, they've got Bond, they've got every studio funneling money at them. If they've got, go on.
Do you think, say if you know this really does kind of go this direction in them not screening Universal films, is that something, say, indie films would make up, or do you think Universal would just buckle and be like, no, we're doing the traditional theatrical window? And
I think Universal would be crazy to not buckle, to be honest, because they're going to stand to lose so much money. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if they really don't swallow their pride and stick to their guns, and they keep doing things like releasing their biggest releasing their huge blockbusters on home video, that sort of thing can bankrupt them easily. Because there is no way that and this is without counting marketing budget, which is again 2/3 of your total production budget on top of what your production budget is. Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World, what it's called now, 150 to 200 million production budget. You've got another 100 million, that's a 300 million pound film. And in the cinema, it makes $1 billion. It's $1 billion franchise now. It's done it. There is no way on video on demand it's going to make that sort of money. They'd be insane to not buckle.
I mean, one of the key words I always say that we have to put into mind, and I will agree with you on this, is that, you know, if everyone in here now was to go to the cinema, we're all paying, even if it's our card, there is a contribution of that goes to the cinemas for us to watch that film. Whereas if we were to rent that film and stream it, that's 5 people watching it in the house essentially in one go. So that, you know, you do realize that even if it is on a on-demand basis, there's always going to be some form of loss there. So I do agree to an extent, but I do believe that one way or another we will see more and more of this will happen. I don't think this is a one-off, and I don't think it would be just the punishment of going on demand. Personally,
I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum to that. I think it's,
you know what, it's technology moving. It's technology moving, as far as I'm concerned. It's not that I like it. I enjoy nothing more than a cinema experience, but it's just the way the world goes. I don't know how. I don't know the nooks and
completely
crannies
disagree.
exactly, but it's.
I'm literally at the other end of the ladder to you. I think what happens is that people always try and test the waters. I think it's like, oh, can we get away with this? And the cinemas have come out and said, nope, no, you cannot. And I think this is all hearsay. Of course, we don't know anything at this point. We have to see how this plays out. But from what I know so far, all the cinemas, UK and US, worldwide, have jumped on this. Well, you ain't getting your movies played anymore. I don't think any other studios would be as stupid as to do that.
But then they'll
because they don't gain anything.
No, and I mean, I'm not a fan of it. And it was like when The Irishman released the film in the cinema for 2 weeks, and then it came out on Netflix or whatever it was. That was really frustrating because it was just a bit like they did that so it can still be nominated.
Bingo.
And all of that stuff, and it's just a bit. I don't know, it just takes away from the whole point of like going to the cinema and then waiting however many months for it to come out on telly, and it just, what is the point? And I found that frustrating. So,
the Irishman's a funny one because I think what you saw with The Irishman is that we're still at a stage where this kind of joins into what AJ was saying a moment ago, the way technology is moving. I think the Oscars are going to start recognizing Netflix, Amazon, and the streaming service as being when the quality is good enough, like with The Irishman, they will recognize them without them having to have a 2-week theatrical release. Maybe that will change for the future. But the only reason that Scorsese's movie was on Netflix and not cinema is because the budget for it was crazy. No studio wanted to front him, what was it, 180 mil for that film? No one was like, no, what the hell? You don't need 180 million to do a period gangster piece.
I mean, I'm not quite sure what the 180 went on, but okay.
Right.
Taking Joe Pesci Joe Pesci came out of retirement. It must have, the figure must have been high enough to say yeah.
Joe Pesci.
Yeah. The 3 actors alone was at 150.
The actors, the de-aging tech. I mean, a lot of what Scorsese does is obviously built, isn't it? So all of those old cars you would have seen and the sets he would have built, all that. So, but you don't need to. He made Goodfellas for what, 40?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wasn't. I mean, I watched.
Say it.
It's
We've
not,
all said it.
Look, it's not a bad film. It's just underwhelming for what I thought it would be.
Do you know what it is? It could never live up to the hype.
Yeah.
It could. So this is one of the biggest arguments I've had recently in life, is that I think when it comes to films and certain things, the expectation and the hype that you have behind it will never match. You're talking about Joe Pesci coming out of retirement, Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro all working together. They've de-aged De Niro. You're like, oh my god, let me see it. And then you're like, okay, you're middle ground. Like,
yeah,
our expectations just built up too much for middle ground movie.
Yeah.
By no means is it crap.
Anyone? Yeah. No. Well, it's a drag. It's a drag.
It dragged. No, that's this middle ground. It dragged. I mean,
The story was like, because I didn't know anything about that story, or whatever. So that's the only interesting bit. Like, take that away, I was like, okay. It was like another mob movie, and I just wasn't that impressed. But it was brilliant to watch, but it's not my favorite.
No,
Yeah.
God, no.
Agreed.
God, no.
Funny enough, I haven't heard anyone.
Go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say, I haven't heard anyone give it the rave reviews that we all had in anticipation for it. No one came back and was like, have you?
Yeah, that's the best thing they've ever watched. I was like, are you all right? Like,
that's not the real question. The real question is, what else have you watched?
Yeah,
Maybe that's what you need.
No. The real question is, what have you not watched?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. For me, Heat is one of my favorite Robert De Niro kind of like old school films. And I just, for me, I'll pick that any day over The Irishman. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
unpopular opinion here. Martin Scorsese is now 2 for 2 for making dud films.
Yeah.
His last 2 films, I think, have been absolute duds. I thought Silence was uninspired, and I thought The Irishman equally so.
Silence.
Well, that says it all, doesn't it? And silence should have worked. I mean, for me personally, it's like you go to Japan in the feudal samurai era, thumbs up. You get Andrew Garfield as your lead and Adam Driver as your supporting actor, another thumbs up. And it's a snooze fest. What are we doing here?
But again, it's like the Irishman. You take all the elements, all the boxes are ticked. It just doesn't deliver. And something, you know what? Maybe it's because you're just dragging. If you
no need for it to be like 100 hours long, like that was.
But this is the problem. The minute I was told that some people are treating this like a Netflix miniseries, it told you it was wrong. Like, who breaks down the film?
Yeah, I had people pause and go back to it the next day, and I'm like, that's not how you can't carry on watching the movie.
And like, the thing,
shooting.
Yeah, well, exactly. The thing I've also found really funny is everyone who's watched it gone, it's really long. It's like all his movies are long. Like The Wolf of Wall Street is over 3 hours, but it flies by.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel the length here. It's like, God. I feel like what they did with the de-aging tech on Joe Pesci, the opposite of that is happening to me. I can feel my life leaving my body. Speed up, please.
Yeah, that film dragged. It's
really dragged. And
it's a shame because it has all the right components for a very good film, like the right
20
premise.
Years too late.
So Goodfellas, basically, and like
but here's the thing, even we talk about all the actors, and I think Presh, you and Rachel both said something that was, I think, spot on, to be honest, is that compare it to all the ones which we're going to compare it to, the Goodfellas, the Casinos, the Mean Streets of the world, right? Even the Raging Bulls, they all had something which, even if you didn't know about, you know, the mob taking over Las Vegas, or you didn't know about the Lufthansa flight heist. Doesn't matter. They're interesting topics. Truck unions.
Agreed.
Truck unions. I could not care less. I really could not care less.
Yeah. I think they were
forced.
Yeah, stretch
like,
it.
We've got to make this film. We've got to use de-aging technology, and you know, all the hype was around the making of it rather than the actual film.
Yeah. And his next film looks like it's going to be on Netflix as well, because once again, Mr. Scorsese is asking for a $220 million budget, and all the studios have said, no.
I think, he's a bit delirious at the moment, but
he is. I'm wondering if he's having his Ridley Scott years. You know, getting into that old man, no F's given stage, and it's like, I will make the movie I want. It's like, yeah, but Martin, what you want's a bit outdated, mate.
Speaking of just weird hype around movies, what do you guys think of this? It's kind of breaking news about Tom Cruise and SpaceX kind of looking to film an action film in space.
I love everything about this.
Hold on. Are you not talking about Stuart Little? The Tom Cruise.
What? Come again?
What, Stuart? What?
They're not putting a mouse in space.
That's what I'm picturing now. I'm like, a mouse in space? Come again?
So, the actor who played Stuart Little, there's a picture of him and Tom Cruise now, and it's like Tom hasn't aged and the guy looks like way older than Tom, and so there's this like, what the hell, like Tom Cruise is a vampire because he hasn't aged.
Yeah, him and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, they're just on that blood.
The world's greatest action hero.
Actually, that was a fun fact. As voted for by the entirety of the Silver Screen dudes with 889 votes, we put it on Twitter. The Rushmore was decided for the top action stars of all time. We had Arnie, Sly, Bruce Lee, and Keanu Reeves. Keanu won with 59%. I was like, what?
I don't think. I mean, it was weird that Bruce Lee would be in.
Maybe it's a generation.
So I have to put the defense out again. You know what it was? Is that when I broke it down, because this was one of our arguments of should he be in there.
The man was a weapon. Can we add over Tom Cruise?
Many people are going to argue why Bruce Willis's name wasn't in there, but
he wasn't.
He was not in our Rushmore. No, he wasn't in our top 4.
Martial
What was that, sir?
Oh, I'm just surprised.
My breakdown was the man was a weapon. So where you see Arnie with machine guns and everything, Bruce Lee was that walking weapon in all of his films.
Like that in real life, and I feel like they're acting that, and he was an actual martial arts superstar.
No, for sure.
Mm.
You can't even compare. It's like Bruce is on his own separate level.
He was, exactly. Yeah.
They're acting.
But you know what?
The
Even
other
despite all of
issue.
that,
What's that?
no, I was just going to say, despite all of that, that Bruce being that entire entity of his own, the world saw Keanu Reeves. I cannot believe in a debate with Arnold Schwarzenegger as an action hero in there, Keanu Reeves came out as the absolute top. But hey,
By
Like-
59%.
Because I think it's probably the generation of Matrix. I think that.
Yeah,
John Wick. People have
John
seen
Wick,
John Wick.
Matrix.
So you've
Yeah.
got the Matrix, John Wick, and for the older guys, Speed.
Yeah.
I was not sold. Like anytime I'm in danger, yeah, he can come.
That's who you want saving you.
You want saving you for sure.
But bringing this back to what Fresh was talking
I
about
was gonna
with
say,
Tom
yeah.
Cruise, it's like, and this is why I was making an argument for Tom Cruise should be on the best action stars list of all time. He jumps out of planes, he hangs from helicopters, he jumps from building to building. He could punch a shark, probably. Now, I feel like the only reason they're putting him into space is because it's like, he's thinking, what stunt can I do next? And it's like, I know, Halo jump from space. You know that's what's going to happen. They're going to have real footage of Tom Cruise jumping from space to Earth. It's going to happen. And I love it.
I mean, I just hope the script is good. Otherwise, it's just like a complete dud. Like I think it's one of those things that off the bat sounds interesting, but like in practice, it won't really. Yeah.
I have. I mean, I could be wrong for this, but I do have a lot of faith in Tom Cruise. So I'm guessing as long as he, he's in space, so I can't say limit his imagination, but it might surprise.
Well, the
us.
stratosphere.
Like it's an interesting one. I'll be honest. This convo right here is the first time I've heard it, but why not? We've seen him do everything else. Let's take a new take on something, and I think that's what will.
Does that mean you guys are going to be watching Top Gun too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will do, but I'm not overly excited about it. I'm just like, well, let's see where it goes next.
What do you mean you're not excited by it?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where things go with
That's
Top Gun 2.
interesting.
Yeah.
No, I'm interested. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, I'm not like, oh my god, Top Gun. Do you know, like Top Gun 2? I'm like,
It's Top Gun. Come on.
I know. That's why I'm going. I'm in. I'm in.
Don't
I'm
you
down.
think it came out like a little bit later than it should have? Like they waited.
This is
how
the thing.
long?
Yes.
Before?
Sorry, does Tom Cruise not look young enough anymore?
I mean,
Like,
sign
he hasn't aged.
Yes, yeah, he's definitely going to the right doctors for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm. of the plastic kind.
Yeah, for sure.
He has a good surgeon. But to be honest, given the choice, I'd love Tom Cruise to do a second part to Edge of Tomorrow. Now, that's a film.
See,
How many of you have seen that?
I saw that in a cinema.
but
So good.
And there was another one that were
Didn't
pretty
get
much the
what the
same
hell was happening, but
right?
what's
It
What's
that?
that?
Two films that came out around the same time, and to me they were quite similar.
Minority Report, and then this, and then there was a couple.
I can't remember what it was, but I just was
No,
like,
Minority was way before Edge of Tomorrow, though.
it was like, let me find it. I'll find it. Give me 2 seconds.
Was it Rach? Was it Oblivion?
Yes, wasn't
There you
that
go.
like the same film? Like, I think they came out close to each other in terms of very futuristic and I was
Very futuristic. But Edge of Tomorrow, I mean, it was Groundhog's Day with aliens. It was so awesome.
I'm involved. I love a sci-fi, but I don't know. I think probably that's why I can't tell the difference between the two because they came out around the same time, and it was Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise doing his shtick.
Just celebrating
Love it.
Tom Cruise all the time. So yeah, I like it when he kind of does that, but then there's like a really good storyline, like and he's
Rain
not
Man.
jumping off a building somewhere, and I just want a little bit more from you, Tom. Just a little bit.
I'm sure
Okay, so
he'll.
This is my heart, and that hurt. Ow!
Sorry. I love him.
In terms of like filmmakers, like I've kind of with us kind of following a lot of indie filmmakers, and they're sort of writing their scripts at the moment. I guess what do you? It would be interesting to know. Do you expect like this whole coronavirus thing to inspire a wave of kind of dystopian type pandemic films, or do we just get like the complete opposite direction of like just light-hearted big action films? Or
there is a Corona movie in the pipeline, but it's not yet. Personally speaking, I think we're looking 10 to 15 years away. Personally, I think most of us think we've lived it. We don't need to see it because it's been done. And to be fair, some of my early films, going back to your first question, I think for some reason, once this all came out, our way of learning how to survive was to go back to all the pandemic movies out there. So I think, I don't know if...
We did a list.
Well, we did, exactly that. So I don't know if it's something I would run to right now. I would just see it as the biggest... Do you know what I think you'll find it on... what's that one in America? Lifetime. It'll be on the Lifetime channel. Those ones will be out straight away. But in terms of an actual box office one, I don't know if... Come again?
Pandemic films like during this time. I don't know. I just didn't feel like my brain could cope with any more crap. Like,
it was weird.
Like fear mongering. Like I just couldn't deal with that. So I avoided watching Contagion and all those films. And I watch it after when I'm not in lockdown and I don't feel restricted and I can be free. But right now I just can't.
Our problem was, if you permit me to like take the rein on this one, Nick, is we when it was not as scary and it was just reaching, you heard a couple of them, we kind of looked at each other and said, do you think it would be wrong to do a top 10 outbreak movie? And we're like, it'll be fine, we can do it. By the time we went to record it, that was the last time we actually saw each other, and we were like, damn, maybe this was a bit cold, like maybe this wasn't the time to have done it. But so for that alone, we had like knocked a few out, if you would. But to be fair, I agree with you, Rachel, because after that, I didn't want to see anymore. I remember. I don't know. Have any of you guys heard or seen of a film called Right at Your Door?
No.
It's one of the weirdest films, and my assistant manager told me about it just before the lockdown. And this one scared the crap out of me because spoiler to the film. Was the problem with this film was if you stay in your house too long, you were actually catching the virus as opposed to going out and catching air. So the guy was a hotbed. And each night I was going to bed like, please don't make this happen.
Adding more craziness. But I think we'll get those Corona type films more closer. Just like, how we had like 9/11 and then a lot of those movies kind of came out.
Bingo.
After. And
Rachel, you're taking the words out of my mouth here.
Yeah, it's so insensitive. I was like, we haven't even processed what's happened, and there was all these films. I didn't watch one of the films until there's a few that I've still to this day never watched because I just feel like, I don't know, it's just weird knowing it's based on people's lives and like this actually happened.
Yeah. So to your point, Presh, I think I support what Rachel's saying. I don't think it's going to be the indie filmmakers who go near this. I think you're going to see the studios and it's going to be released as some. You can guarantee it's going to be something about a couple being separated and reunited in after the virus is. You can guarantee it. Like, and if you doubt me, like, look what they did to Rachel's point. Look what they did with that film World Trade Center. It was Oliver Stone directed, Nicolas Cage and Chris Pena starring in it. It was literally like, man gets buried in 9/11 as a firefighter, and his big thing is, I need to see my wife again. And it's like, well, there's a bigger picture going on here, my friend. Much like with that film, The Impossible, which is about, the tsunami in 2004. That was made really close after the actual event. And what was it about? Forget all the Asian people suffering. It's about the white family that gets separated. So you can guarantee Hollywood are going to jump on this bandwagon.
It's a romantic version of what actually happened and who the heroes were and who acted, and like
100%.
It will be rewritten through whatever coronavirus related films they produce.
You need to just give it time for people to like heal and move forward.
They won't. They won't.
Before you start disrespecting.
I wish. But I think it's interesting you bring up the indie thing, because I actually think what this virus is going to do is I think it's going to completely put, the final nail in the coffin. I mean, we're nearly there anyway, but you know how we seem to have nothing in between at the moment in Hollywood. You've either got the big multi-million-dollar budget, billion-dollar blockbusters, or you've got the little indie flicks, which either get major Oscar recognition, or in some cases, like The Invisible Man, great film, make huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Be careful. Once you've given him permission, it's all over.
But no, you've got indie films like The Invisible Man, which will make huge bucks, right? And they're made on a budget of nothing. Deadpool, great example, made on what, $40 million, made 700 million. But it's everything up from that, sort of 80 to 100 million budget. I think you're going to see those movies phased out. I think this virus is going to make studios realize that it's either all Oscars or all money, that you're going to completely lose in between. So I think guys like, do you all know who Jeff Nichols is?
Yeah.
So I think directors like him are going to have a real trouble now, because he is inherently an indie director, but he makes indie films on quite a big budget, and I think he's going to struggle. Guys like Guillermo del Toro, weirdly, I think he's going to struggle. Because again, he doesn't go major blockbuster, and his movies never make huge amounts of money, but his movies always have quite a high budget. So that demographic of directors and filmmakers, I think, sadly, you're going to see get phased out.
Wow.
Interesting. I have to think a bit more about that one. It's a tough one. I don't know.
I don't know,
because they are that niche market.
Kind of close to being there. We're nearly there already. Like, you don't see a lot of those types of movies get made anymore. And now I think this virus is just going to wipe the slate.
I think also because everyone's kind of becoming a critic in their own right, and
yay! Welcome to the big picture.
AJ, throw it up.
I was going to say, are we plugging right now? Is this the time?
And Rachel, I follow your YouTube channel, so back at you, Mrs.
Oh yeah,
silver screen dudes. Just saying.
What about studios like STX, who kind of launched to kind of fill that gap, where it's not as big of a budget, but you've still got an A-lister sort of type of cast?
Yeah, I think they'll do well. STX A24, I think, are going to come out smelling of roses in this, and God, they make good films. Oh,
they make good films. God,
yeah.
Every time I see their logo,
you know you're in for a
good.
Annapurna, I think, could come out smelling quite good.
Yeah.
Is that Brad Pitt's one? Which one's Brad Pitt's one? It's one of the two. He's like in cahoots with one of those.
I think it's Annapurna. You might be right.
Yeah, Annapurna.
AJ, idea for a top 10 A24 movies.
Yeah, I'm putting that down as a note.
he's on it too. Look at that.
The pleasures of two phones, my friend. Yeah.
So also there was kind of news of Taika Waititi kind of being signed on to direct the next Star Wars film.
What else? Star Wars reference?
It's confirmed, is it not?
Confirmed.
It's confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed.
Yeah.
So are we ready for a new Star Wars film?
Yes.
And
yes. Why is that a question? Always yes.
Avisha, you don't seem so sure.
Star Wars, I'm not into this realm. So.
Not the target demographic.
Humbly.
Rachel, what are you saying?
I'll watch it because I love sci-fi movies, but I just feel like what they did in the last scenes of the last film, which was actually decent considering, I actually really enjoyed it, apart from what they did to my man.
Who's your man?
Kylo's
your man.
I will save you. It's okay. I just didn't like that. It was so unnecessary. It was so Game of Thrones. It was just like, oh, here we go. We're just gonna break everyone's hearts. And I don't want to give too much away if you haven't watched it, but you know,
we've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Spoilers. I don't plan on watching it anymore.
You know, I just think there was no need for him to die. Like.
No.
I saw it coming.
Rachel, I'll put something in your head that'll make you feel even more dirty about how dirty they did him, right?
They did him so bad. Like,
No, wait. When I put this in your head, you're going to be like, fuck those fuckers. Wait for this. So, you've got Kylo dying and basically being redeemed as far as I'm concerned, right? The last scene is Rey on Tatooine and the Force ghosts appear. Where's Kylo's ghost?
Yeah. Yeah, but no.
Yeah, look at her. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like there was a lot of like, oh, this is a good idea, and no one really thought it all the way through, and it was just a bit like, let's do this. I know how we can like a talking point.
Sadly, with that new Star Wars, it showed that they didn't have an A to Z plan for the story.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of that is the critical sort of down point in the whole last trilogy.
Yeah.
Are
and
Star
I think
Wars still doing? Sorry to cut you, Nick. Are Star Wars still doing like the side quest films, as I'll call it? Like you've got your main saga,
Dead them.
and then you. No, because this is where I think No, I'll tell you what. I'm quite indifferent.
Road on you, dead that.
Whoa!
No, hold on.
Whoa. Rachel, you don't like Rogue One?
Spoken.
You don't like Rogue One?
It was alright.
You don't like Solo?
Fucking hated Solo.
but here's my thing.
I was like, how can they do that to her? Emilia Clarke does not deserve that. Like, how can you do that to her? She's mother
You're
of
right.
my...
She deserves to die, right? Just putting.
At this point, they all do. I hated it.
She lived. She got done less dirty than in Game of Thrones. I love you. Bang. Like, what?
Yeah, they're just out here taking the piss out of their life, and I just think that's unnecessary. No.
Yeah, Last Christmas was also another piss take of my life, but we won't go there. No, the reason I asked that question, though,
sorry, continue.
Fired. Was because if you're going to talk about someone like Taika Waititi as a director, I think he would serve more for one of those kind of films where he would have his creative freedom to give it that element more than an actual Star Wars lineage film, which is part of those trilogies that they keep creating.
They're not doing those anymore, though, mate. They're not doing those. That's
Skywalker Saga's done.
Finished. It's done. So what they're doing with this, everyone's getting this wrong. Everyone's saying that this Taika Waititi movie is going to be set in the Old Republic when Darth Bane showed up. No. Sorry, when Darth Revan showed up. No. What they're planning is it's going to be High Republic. So the sort of glory years before all the bad shit happened. And it's going to be, think Yoda as a teenager, that type of time period.
Not going backwards.
I'm not saying you're going to see Yoda as a teenager, but I'm saying think that far back.
Going back has always worked so well for Star Wars.
I do not... Hang on. Whoa.
I'm just
saying. Darth Maul, all right?
Jar Jar Binks. Same film, different side of the coin.
Let it go.
I'm just saying. Don't get me wrong, I'm interested, but I don't... Why are we going back? I mean, what is this?
See the creation of the Sith.
Yeah, but what is the point? We know what happens at the end.
And what is this? Is this leading into a trilogy again? Like, this is what I'm saying. What is...
We don't know.
So then your episode 4 now becomes episode...
The episode stuff is just Skywalker stuff. They're done with the episodes. This is... Think of it, Star Wars, The High Republic. It can be one film.
Hopefully, this is what I'm saying.
It can be The High Republic Part 1 and Part 2. You can do many things with it.
So this is more like your what's that other one? Fantastic Beasts is out of the whole Harry Potter world. Fair enough.
And to be honest, considering how good he did with The Mandalorian, he gets my full support. Have you all seen The Mandalorian?
No, I haven't, because I don't have Disney Plus.
I do, thank you, AJ.
Okay.
Don't release that in public because the person who gave you the password don't know you have the password. But hey, it's cool.
Wait, my girl Rachel, have you seen The Mandalorian?
No, I haven't.
Check it out, honestly.
So hold on, Rachel. I have to ask this because I've heard you say sci-fi a few times.
Yeah.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh.
You're a dick.
Well, the question needs to be asked. It's just a question of question.
It's not a question that should ever be asked. It's not a comparison.
I actually...
Let him answer. What is it? Go on, what?
It's actually 50-50 for me. Actually, don't.
Fair enough.
He's actually 50. I grew up. I've got two older siblings. One was Star Trek, one was Star Wars. So it's like I have their influence. So.
Fair play. Fair play.
Okay.
Who's who out of you two? Who's Star Trek?
Take a guess.
No, my dad's a Trekkie, so I grew up watching. I grew up watching Next Generation. Like that was life to me. So, don't get me wrong. I'm not the biggest one. I'm not. Yeah, I can't even throw that up. That hurts me. Like, each time I try it. But I'm down with Star Trek. Because of our podcast and at the time YouTube channel, the actual threat was we are not going on camera, and because I hadn't watched any at the time. He's like, we're not doing anything if you've not seen any Star Wars. I had not seen one. My dad absolutely hated it. I understand why to a degree.
Okay, you're wrong and your dad's wrong. Carry on.
No, I get it. I get certain parts that some of the characters are a bit weak to me. Not main characters, just the side alien characters.
Data's a powerhouse. Yeah,
I will. Okay, cool. Because there you are. I didn't start attacking like any major characters. I'm just saying like the alien races that you get from Star. I think they portrayed a lot better. Alien races are portrayed a lot better in Star Trek over Star Wars. Just in my view, the actual main characters, yes, Star Wars will give you a bit more. So I've learned to appreciate both, but I do lean that bit more to Star Trek over Star Wars.
Still, it didn't work. I thought I'd push him into seeing all the movies and he'd become a Warzer. Nope.
No.
You big Wookiee.
So, like, just kind of moving the convo.
I keep laughing because I didn't even want to reply. If you get offensive.
Like now we don't have like the cinemas and stuff. Like, what sort of platforms are you guys like watching and discovering film? Is it still just like Netflix and?
I'm on.
Legally, I'm not allowed to say what my platform is.
So, Netflix, Prime, Disney Plus, and Sky is where I'm getting my films. But I'll be real, I'm changing my IP just so I can get US Netflix. The UK Netflix is weak. It's weak.
Visha?
If you look for anything from sort of 30s through to late 60s, forget it.
To be fair, Prime doesn't do too bad. I always just have this argument with Prime that you see a show, you film or show, you get interested. More for the series, you get interested, then by the next season they want to charge you for it.
Yeah,
Blackish, that happened with me.
Bro!
Dude, I was really pissed off about that.
Like, how are you going to charge me more?
Thank you. This is my argument.
Everything. Don't put something on there if I have to buy it.
Thank you.
I'm paying a membership. If you gave me an option of be a member, watch everything free, or failing that, pay for your episodes or series, by all means. But don't take my money and then tell me you want more. How dare you?
Yeah.
And that's why Google Stadia didn't work.
I haven't even heard
of that one, but fair enough.
I have, because
my man.
But no, to be fair, aside from the ones that shan't be mentioned, I have actually I'm on all three. I've done a bit of Netflix, done a bit of Amazon Prime, and then thankfully, I have someone who's got 6 months free Disney Plus, so I had a nice little run around with that as well.
Oh shit! Have I only got 6 months for this?
I'm sure I'm gonna. Okay, full disclaimer: it's my brother. With the company he's at, they gave him 6 months free Disney Plus.
Oh, fair play.
So yeah, he was quite lucky. But I do believe I'm going to twist his arm. If not,
I think you should.
Do you know what? It's a lot of fun. What I did do actually recently, I don't know if anyone has done it. I signed up for BritBox this month. I was severely disappointed. Severely.
Okay.
No, do you know what it was? I'll be honest. At the moment, me and my other half, what we're enjoying is old school episodes of Birds of a Feather. I'll put that out there. That's what we're doing. We're just having a bit of fun with it. And there was one season I just couldn't find. And I was like, you know what? BritBox, they're advertising it's got everything. So I've jumped on there, went to have a look, and it was like, they've only got the new season that's on ITV. I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. You're claiming to have all the great British stuff, and here this is missing. Then I was like, okay, you don't have this. What did I grow up watching as a kid and loved? And I was like, The Bill. I typed that in. That was missing. I was like, you know what?
Bill.
That winds me up.
What's that, sorry?
They haven't thought it through. They've just
They
thought, oh,
haven't.
how can we tap into this like online, streaming? And they were like, oh, let's combine all of these things. But the first thing they should have done is get the old school shows on there because that's what we love,
Mhm.
Like, how are you not going to have that? That is so.
Thank you.
Is 40 Towers on there?
Do you know what? Because I've got the collection of 40 Towers is on Netflix, so I don't know if there's an argument for that.
That doesn't
could
make
be
sense, though. If you're advertising Best of British and you don't have 40, you lose.
Do you know what they do have, and I think is going to be their winning thing? A bit like Disney Plus had The Mandalorian. They've got Doctor Who. They've got the whole Doctor Who catalogue, and I think the Doctor Who fans out there will, if they don't have the collection themselves, this is their platform to go on to.
Mm.
So
it's big. It's not my thing, but it's big.
It's not my thing by any means. What's that, Rachel? Sorry.
I grew up on Doctor Who, but the new generation Doctor Who, I'm not involved. Like, I don't know.
Well, this is it. But I think you can go back to like your old school,
Like, serious. Like, Billy Piper can't be involved with Doctor Who. Like that. I'm not involved. Yeah.
No. So yeah, I've kind of dabbled with everything really, and then as I said, I have my means to catch those films that came out on release.
Yeah.
I don't
has anyone seen a movie that they haven't seen before during this? And to build on that, have you seen a movie that you haven't seen before that you've both liked, and also one that you haven't liked?
So my big one, and I mean it was kind of linked with our podcast, but my big one was I finally saw The Room. Like that was my major. That was my box to tick. Like, oh my days, I finally had a time.
Love and hate in one go.
It was like, oh my day.
It's so entertaining.
I just don't understand.
I don't think
I've never seen such weak acting in my life, but someone believing so much in themselves. You have to see The Disaster Artist to see how much he believed in himself.
Yeah.
Oh, is that relate? Is that okay?
The
Have you seen The Disaster
Artist is literally a movie about how The Room got made.
Right. Okay. I just sometimes have to be in the mood for those type of films.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
Might I suggest a drink while you watch that?
Oh, okay. Anything.
I won't say it, but
Like when it's not certain type of actors, I know I have to be in a completely like silly mood. I don't know, like mindset to kind of watch them.
You do. The Disaster Artist has got some weird, surprising depth to it, though, because you don't sort of, I mean, you laugh in it for sure, but you don't sort of finish the movie and think, oh, that was one of those yuck chuckle films. It's got some weird depth to it, whereby you realise that this man, despite how much of a nut job he is, he still made it. Like, he did, though.
In the long run, yes.
He did. His movies made a profit. He's got a film which is now, what, must be coming up for close to 15, 20 years old. People are still talking about it. Like, actively. It's not, you don't have to go down a rabbit hole to find a lot of people who talk about The Room. Like, it's still very much part of the discussion. So, oh, and did you find out recently that there's a whole documentary being released about him by these two Canadian guys?
What?
To be fair, let it sleep, man.
No. All the shit about, no, not about The Room, about him. Like, where he got his money, how old he is, where he's from. It's all out. And he's Polish.
Yeah.
That I would watch.
He's Polish.
I'll give it a
Polish,
shot.
in his late 50s, and I don't yet know how he got his money, but apparently the documentary reveals it.
Do you know what? There was a part of me that actually would laugh that he is revealed to actually be Count Dracula. There's something about Tommy Wiseau that just says, you know what? Maybe he is, and he's just been stacking fortunes forever.
No, I'm real American hero.
Well,
this is American accent. I'm from Louisiana. Oh, hi, Mark. God.
So yeah, I mean, we had that. What I did do, I've done a lot of biopics recently. Some have been fun, like going back to Hidden Figures. I saw The Founder for the first time, actually.
So good.
Ray Kroc was a dick. It really hurt me. I have to be honest. Yeah. I also went back to the
Founder is about the guy who created McDonald's.
McDonald's, yeah.
Right.
So I done that one. Okay. I went back to which one was it? The I can't remember if it's Steve or Jobs or Steve Jobs.
Oh,
Jobs is the one with Fassbender.
Yeah, Jobs. I saw Jobs again, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first time. Which
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Apart from that,
two new ones I've seen. I mean, the one which is first time seeing it, absolutely blew my mind at how good it is with Singing in the Rain.
oh, is that the first time you've seen it? Oh my god,
So good, so good.
I literally
And
saved on my Sky and the DVD just when I'm.
it's just wonderful. It's the most meta movie ever. Like, Deadpool's got nothing on Singing in the Rain in terms of its metatricity. It's insane. But film I saw first time last night, and you know how sometimes the reason we all love movies is that they can make you feel all the extreme emotions: love, happiness, sadness, joy. And when you see a good movie, there's nothing more. Well, there are things more satisfying, which we won't talk about. But in terms of the legal scope, there's nothing really more satisfying than watching a great film. The satisfaction you feel, right? Conversely, when you see a movie that you really hate, nothing has put me more in a fucking rage than Mulholland Drive. Ah!
oh, do you know what? That was on my list, following on from what we had done before.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that.
I saw it for the first time last night. Oh my god, I hate it. I hate everything about it.
So,
I had an allergic reaction to this film.
Did Mulholland Drive come up on your radar, Nick, based on the whole movies about movies that we done?
No, Mulholland, it wouldn't even qualify as that.
For some reason, they came up listed because of the Hollywood system. I don't know why.
It's got an element of the Hollywood system, but it's so vague, so it's not at all about that. No, the reason it came up is because, again, shameless plug, but Press, you and Avisha will know, it's the 100 greatest movies of all time countdown we're doing on Insta at the moment, and 74 is Mulholland Drive. That movie has no place being on that list.
Is this you lot, like, obviously your countdown? So why have you?
No. Empire Magazine. Empire Magazine.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Empire Magazine.
The reason this came about, and it kind of swings. We're going full circle here, all the way back to what Press asked at the beginning. Like, what are you watching at the moment? Basically, the missus and I had a major disagreement after we finished Tiger King about what should we watch now, and we could not settle on what to watch. So she actually came up with the idea: watch the 100 greatest movies of all time. And I said, based on who? Because my list will be very different to yours. And then she said IMDb. I went, no, absolutely not. A list which puts The Dark Knight as the 4th greatest film of all time? No. I love that film, but it is not the 4th greatest film of all time. Let's be real.
That's weird.
It's really weird. That's Keanu Reeves is the greatest action star of all time. That world we live in.
It's out there.
So we went with Empire Magazine because, to be honest, I just like their editor. What's her name? It's gonna kill me. Helen O'Hara. Because, and as self-entitled critics, we're all going to love what she said. Did you all hear what she said when she said why critics have got more of a valid opinion than audiences?
Why?
Oh, look at everyone's reaction, huh?
Yeah, no. Like,
the balls on this woman, and this is why I love Empire, because she was being interviewed, and I can't remember who was interviewing her. I think it was that dickhead from Channel 4 who interviewed Robert Downey Jr. when he walked out. Anyway, he was that guy. So he was interviewing Helen O'Hara, and he got really uppity with her.
What did he ask?
It wasn't what he asked. He asked her an opinion. I think it was, they rated Mad Max Fury Road like really, really highly. Like it was a 5-star movie for them. And he asked her why they came to that conclusion. And she went into like eloquent detail about it. And his response was, well, that's just your opinion. And she went, and her answer was, and it's more valid than yours. And he got butthurt by that as much as to say, well, why would you say that? She says, I'm sorry, would you argue with Monet how the best way to paint is? Would you argue with Jamie Oliver or Gordon Ramsay the best way to cook? And then he tried throwing it back at her saying, what, so you're saying you're some sort of artist? She says, no, but I have a much bigger pool to draw from than you do, my friend. And that's just real. Like when, as all of us do, when you watch pretty much everything that comes out, I think we try and watch. We never succeed, But I'm sure we all start, New Year, New Me with, I'm going to watch every movie that comes out, right? We all like to think we try and watch everything, and we do try. Your average moviegoer, and this is what we all forget being in this bubble, your average moviegoer will see the blockbusters and the films which everyone's like, La La Land, go and see it now. I mean, I did, but I love it. But,
Did you love it?
Adored La La Land. Don't say anything bad about it. We won't
I
get along, trust me.
La La
Ah, la, 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 la.
Did it?
You have no soul. You have no soul.
No, they have no soul, okay?
No, life's real. It doesn't always end peaches and cream. Human beings fuck up, and sometimes you make the wrong decision in life. And that movie showed that, damn it. We're not talking about La La Land. We will argue for a long time about that.
No, we will.
Oh, Rachel, you need to come on the podcast and we're going to talk La La Land, mate. But yeah, so I think what Helen O'Hara did that was so good was she actually said, look, this is why a critic's opinion is more valid, because what we do for a living is watch movies. For every 10 movies that your average moviegoer watches, she'll probably watch 100 or 1,000. Like, the ratios are insane. So, of course, if you've seen more movies and you've got an element of a developed analytical and critical brain, and you know how to look at movies in a way that you're looking beyond just what's the plot A to B, of course you're going to have more of a valid opinion. And I think Helen O'Hara's got a brass set of balls on her on live TV and on radio saying, my opinion is more valid than yours, and here's why. It's like, my girl, yes! You fly the flag for the critics, girl. You go.
One of the films I have watched, which I should have watched a long time ago, was Prisoners.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it. I was like, what have I been doing with my life? Like, why haven't I not watched this? I thought it was really, really good. One that I had no idea was actually on Netflix was, what's the name? Six Underground?
I hated that.
Bay.
I
Kill
couldn't
me.
finish that.
I was like, I saw Michael Bay, I saw Ryan Reynolds. I was like, okay, all right.
You saw Michael Bay and you said okay.
I was like, okay, we're in quarantine. Allow me.
That's your first warning sign. It says Michael Bay, leave.
He's bought her over the Transformers. Just allow it. Just trust me. Move on. It's not even worth. It's not even worth the argument.
Ago, and it was like, okay, I don't know. I just didn't understand. I was like, yeah, great action sequences as always, because that's what you do best. But apart from that, really?
But they're so uninspired as action sequences. It's like, let's do slow-mo and big explosions. It's like, mate, we've seen it.
I like he copy and pastes from his older films.
So much.
Exactly.
Aside from Bad Boys?
Bad Boys for Life. Oh, sorry. Are you talking Michael Bay movies or what you've seen recently?
He was part of Bad Boys 1.
Yeah. 1 and 2.
Yeah, and like apart from like those early days, like he just I'm over it.
He did The Rock, which was good.
I was going to say The Rock was the next one.
The Rock's good. And to be fair, his recent film, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, was really good.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good. But then he did those god-awful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, which just an offense to the system, AJ.
Wow.
I had fun with them. I'm not saying they were great. I just had fun with them. I went in there with my nephew and I laughed. It was nothing amazing. I don't like the design of them at all. I much prefer the old stuff you gave me from the early 90s. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't create a hate and sense of just it was whatever to me.
And he did possibly the most offensive film of all time in Pain and Gain.
I haven't seen it.
Like
that was awful.
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 And people are like, it's funny. And AJ, you've heard me say this before, but it's like, yeah, but you got to remember, it's real. You're making a comedy movie about people who have actually died. How do you think the victims' parents feel, or their relatives, or their friends?
The sad thing about it,
it's tasteless.
That's what's actually bad, is that I don't actually see the seriousness of that movie. Like, I watched it once, I'll watch it again, and like, it made me once think about what had actually happened to them. I was like, this is a shit film.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think about what happened to the people because Michael Bay has the emotional subtlety of a turnip.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Yeah.
Fresh, what's been Fresh and Avisha? What have you seen that you've loved and not loved?
Oh, I mean, I said mine was Knives Out, and
Knives
which
Out
I
is
loved,
on the list. Yeah,
and
so
The Irishman, which I really didn't.
Did not love.
Yeah,
No.
wasn't impressed with The Irishman. I finally watched Uncut Gems, which gave me anxiety from the beginning to the end. But I enjoyed watching the film, so I enjoyed. Yeah, that was a good watch. But
He's good, Sandler, in that.
Yeah, really good.
I feel like I'm gonna do like throwbacks and classics I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen Casino.
Whoa!
I know.
Oh!
I know.
Watch that shit tonight.
I'm legit speechless.
So it might be one on the list.
No, not might. It has to be. Sorry, I don't even want to control your life like that.
What are you doing tonight?
Pardon?
What are you doing tonight?
We've got a movie night planned. So on
Cool.
the
What are you watching?
Old Boy, Blair Witch
No.
Project.
No.
The original Old Boy, Blair Witch
Yeah,
Project.
but still, no. It's Casino.
I know. But my sister's not going to watch it for 3 hours, so I'm going to have to do that solo.
It's not even that bad. The time. This is going back to what we were saying earlier on in Scorsese time. The time you don't feel the 3 hours like that.
Yeah.
You might actually really appreciate
don't.
it.
Top movie.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's
that
on
film gave me anxiety. Casino just gives me stress.
And Old Boy is a film you only ever need to see once because that will mess you up.
That would mess you up. So yeah, it's just classics. I think for me, there's nothing new that has been released in the last year or two that I'm like, I missed this in the cinema. Let me try and catch it now while I can.
Let me throw one out there because this seems to be one that a lot of people missed out on. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, I really like that. Really like that.
That was one of my
Superb.
favorites.
So good.
Brilliant.
So good.
So brilliant. Yeah.
On that note, folks,
I was gonna say
we are out of time.
it's been fun.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. We need to do this again. We need to do it live. We need to, hook this up again. But big thank you to everyone for making the time. And
No, thank you guys for having us. Really appreciate it.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We back and forth. We'll figure out another time to kind of do this again, or however this kind of pans out. But yeah, it's been super fun.
Cool.
And
It's been great.
Good evening.
Thanks, guys.
And to you guys, and Avisha, enjoy Casino.
I will.
That's my closing statement.
I'll give you.
Do it.
Yeah. No, good.
Awesome.
I'm waiting to hear that one. Okay, guys. No, it's been great.